and welcome back. This is a breaking news report. There have been mass protests going on in Georgia, and a lot of you are very confused as to what's happening. So I'm here to clarify it for you. Hi, my name is Yulia, and you're watching the Breaking News Brief, where we talk about important developing stories worldwide. Let's go. So what's been going on in Georgia has been a question that I've received so much this week. So let's take a look into it. First and foremost, I'd like to point out that the country we know as Georgia is actually called Saqartvelo. With that, protests are currently taking place in Tbilisi, the capital of the country, due to the parliament's approval on the controversial bill about foreign agents. In Tbilisi, protesters clashed with security forces in front of the parliament building. Tear gas and water cannons were used against the participants. The president of Georgia, while in the USA, canceled all meetings and prepared an address to the population. The current government of Georgia, Saqartvelo, is largely pro-Russian. And the Russian influence is believed to be the reason behind this law coming into place. Just like in the Russian scenario, the government ordered violent crackdowns on the protesters. Special forces stormed those who gathered under the parliament. Light noise grenades, water cannons, and tear gas were used against them. Brutal detentions were noted as well. People were pulled out of the crowd, as seen in this video. The Georgian police worked strictly according to the Moscow model. Meanwhile, the president of Georgia, Salome Zurabishvili, who seems to be pro-European, supported the protesters and their demands. In her interview with CNN, she called on the Georgian authorities to refrain from using force. And by force, I mean there have been instances of using traumatic weapons with rubber bullets against the civilian population. The authorities must understand that they have the last chance to close the gap between them and the population, which is becoming even wider. They have one last chance to demonstrate that they're not some pro-Russian force. They have the last chance to show in their statements that they're pro-European and not empty talk, and that Europe is the direction in which they are moving. Meanwhile, the representatives of the opposition at the rally informed that the protesters are intending to prevent the deputies from entering the parliament for their meeting on March 9th. Since the current Georgian government is incredibly pro-Russian, they're also anti-Ukrainian, and it has also become known that they want to strip the representatives of the Georgian Legion, which is one of the largest foreign legions in Ukraine, of their citizenship upon returning home. The commander and founder of the Georgian Legion, Mamuk Mamulashvili, said this in an interview with Suspilna. The Prime Minister of Georgia, Irakli Garibashvili, said that those who fight in Ukraine should be stripped of their citizenship. And this is a clear directive from the Kremlin to stop the flow of volunteers going to the Georgian Legion. In my opinion, the Georgian government today fully cooperates with Moscow, is controlled from there, and of course creates problems for us. Now, the Georgian Legion right now is made up of about 1,000 volunteers, 500 of whom are Georgian. It gained notoriety on Twitter for its association with NAFO. NAFO is an organization of people who donated any amount of money to the Georgian Legion in support of them and received an avatar in the form of a meme of Shiba Inu dogs. I know, it sounds weird, but stay with me. Those participating and with the avatar are called fellas. And fellas are basically shitposters who fight the Russian propaganda online. Anyone with free time and a couple of dollars to donate to the Georgian Legion can join. And actually today, someone from our community, Fella McCrunches, I'm going to pay tribute to you here, has made me an honorary NAFA member with this awesome, really, really cool fella avatar. Yes, that is my hair and my glasses, and yes, she's wearing a cardigan, and yes, I love it. So thank you very much, and I'm sorry for this interruption for a positive piece of news amid a very serious talk, but I had to. It's so cool. And anyways, this is the story of how the Georgian Legion became one of the most notorious foreign legions in Ukraine. The population of Georgia in general supports Ukraine tremendously, and that is evidenced by the fact that the anthem of Ukraine was played at the protest in Tbilisi. Have a listen. Of course we support them back. President Volodymyr Zelensky has confirmed that on behalf of the whole country in his past 2 evening addresses. So Georgia, we stand with you, and we know how tough the fight for freedom is. We believe in you. You're incredibly brave, and what we have seen you do is amazing. We know that you're gonna prevail, and we know that you are gonna win. And with that, let's go over in detail of why this is happening. The Parliament of Georgia adopted a new law on the transparency of foreign influences, but the law itself is not very transparent. Stay with me, you'll understand. The law in its current form threatens civil society organizations and mass media with negative consequences for many Georgians who benefit from their activities. The law is incompatible with EU values and standards. This contradicts Georgia's stated goal of becoming a member of the European Union, which most Georgian citizens support. And, as President Zurabishvili called it, it's an unnecessary law that did not come out of nowhere but was dictated by Moscow, telling protesters that she was standing next to you because you're very people who represent free Georgia today. The Georgia which sees its future in Europe and will not let anyone take this future away from it. The bill was largely criticized as posing a potential chilling effect for the civil society of the country, especially for the NGOs and new organizations with links to Europe. The bill will impede on the freedom of expression. The Foreign Agents Bill seeks to marginalize and discredit the foreign-funded groups that are independent and media that serves the wider public. Georgia, as a former Soviet republic, has played a balancing act between its pro-European citizens and its proximity to Russia and its super pro-Russian government. Former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev said in 2011 that had Russia not invaded Georgia in 2008, NATO would already be on its territory. The invasion only lasted a couple of days, but it appeared to have the same pretext as the invasion of Donetsk and Luhansk in Ukraine. In the last few years, and especially over the past 18 months, Georgia's leading coalition has made a couple of very questionable moves that are distancing it from the West and bringing it closer to Russia. So, what is this law? It's a draft law, and here are its requirements. A business must register as a foreign agent with the government if it is under the control, order, or request of a foreign power, acting under the control, order, or request of a person directly or indirectly, in whole or in major part controlled or financed by a foreign power. This means all credit card companies and banks, including local ones with foreign capital, would have to register. Similarly, all Georgian foreign businesses such as McDonald's, Carrefour, Nestle, Samsung would have to register as foreign agents as well, as they provide assets in the interest of the foreign power. This will undermine foreign investment and seriously impede the ease of doing business in Georgia. Many members of the parliament and other government officials would have to register as foreign agents. Under the draft law, one must register as a foreign agent if they act as a political advisor, which includes informing on the issues of Georgia's domestic and foreign policies. Therefore, when a foreign corporation requests that a member of parliament or other government official provides information about the regulatory environment for foreign investment in Georgia, the official must register as a foreign agent if they provide that information. Similarly, a government official would need to register if a foreigner emailed them a request to answer a simple question, such as whether women could vote in Georgia. Yikes, that is incredibly restrictive, and that is just aimed at controlling the population. But anyways, here's the law's potential impact. The law claims that it'll ensure transparency, especially surrounding foreign influence. However, in actuality, it would subject a large portion of regular Georgians to possible criminal liability, expose personal data, and violate the privacy of many people. Additionally, it would enable government officials to use its provisions at its own discretion, facilitating corruption and unwarranted harassment of people and businesses. Many Georgians would have to register and meet the super intrusive requirements. The draft law would require any Georgian employed by foreign-owned companies or organizations to register as a foreign agent. This also applies to Georgians living and working abroad. If they send money to their family members in Georgia, they could be considered foreign powers, and their family members could be regarded as foreign agents. Further, the information provided when registering as a foreign agent will be made available to the public on a government website, and if the people fail to register and meet reporting requirements, they could face criminal prosecution. While the law would require many ordinary Georgians to register, it doesn't require one interesting thing. A Russian spy, for example, would be exempt from registering under a proposed act, as it exempts any foreign public official. How convenient.
Okay, pull up Katya's KGB personnel file.
No, but darling,
Hush, it'll show you've been disavowed by the KGB, and then Mother will, yes, gasp, because she'll be so confused.
All in all, this law is extremely broad and vaguely defines the people, companies, and organizations that fall under its requirements for reporting, making it challenging to figure out when they even should register, or if they should at all. In order to enforce it, the Georgian government would have to enforce a vast and costly apparatus. So instead, they will likely leave it at the discretion of the authorities, which will cause harassment, especially for independent voices, watchdogs, and political opponents. So what are the protesters' demands? Well, first and foremost, they tried to break down the gates to the parliament of Tbilisi. They surrounded the building and asked the security forces to join their side. Earlier, the Georgian mass media reported that the protesters put forth their demands and gave the parliament an hour to fulfill them, to which they responded, no thank you. So what are these demands? 1. The withdrawal of the bill of foreign agents from the parliament. 2. The release of all those detained at protests. And 3, and the most immediate demand, is the immediate resignation of the Georgian parliament. And what are Georgians going to do if these demands are not met? Well, they're not going to do one thing, and that is give up. And here is a DM that I received from a follower of mine who is from Georgia. And it clearly illustrates that the Georgian people are fed up, and they're not going to let the government take over them and turn them into the same type of dictatorship as Russia is. And I wish them the utmost luck. I hope that this brief helped clarify the situation for you and you're now a little more informed on what's happening in Georgia. With that, that's all I have for you for today, and thank you for watching. Please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel, and turn on all of your notifications so you don't miss when the next video comes out. And as always, check your sources and don't fall for propaganda, and I will see you next time.